Most of my life, I have thought of the United States as a character in a movie. A Luke Skywalker type person who plays the reluctant hero for global conflict and saves the day. Stories like those of the late entry into World War I and our reluctance to fight the Second World War until we were provoked into it have helped create that hero narrative. But this morning, when I woke up to the news that X, formerly Twitter, is going to be banned in Brazil because they refuse to censor accounts that the government wants shut down, my initial reaction was one of frustration, but framed through the lens of the American good guy. At least here, I thought, we still have our ability to speak. But the more I read into what might be the cause of this crisis moment in that beautiful country of Brazil, the more the dirty secrets of the United States' involvement in creating this situation came to light. There's a sad reality that since the end of World War II, the elected leaders and politicians have been at war with its own military and espionage divisions, and the hard evidence to realize is that for the most part, the ambassadors of the entrenched have won. 20th century history has proven to be unkind to the ideals of a republic. The tales of the Dulles brothers, General LeMay, and their obstinance to JFK's peaceful vision of the 20th century are sad realities of men in those unelected positions, embracing their full God complex and creating institutions that were moving towards their vision of the future regardless of who the head of state was. JFK was made an example for his disobedience, and every other elected person has become an obedient minder of those that have cast a vision into the future of what the world will be like under their anointing. Every aspect of the 21st century has been a vision of those anointed ones. The U.S. foreign policy establishment hates that the people of any place would have a contrary vision to the one they desire. Populism and democratic institutions have to be silenced and illusionarily, democratically defeated because otherwise the world is too dangerous and out of control. When Bolsonaro won in Brazil at the hands of a democratic process, particularly after the wins of Brexit and Trump, the foreign policy cabal realized it may have lost its grip on the vision they want, and it was time to eliminate the channels of communication that the people might be using to undo their hopes for panacea. In 2019, the Atlantic Council convened a meeting about the rise of disinformation in Brazil that was pro-Bolsonaro. Their panel, called Election Watch, lamented that people were listening to their family, friends, neighbors, clergy, and others more than they were listening to the government organs. The establishment's horror was palpable. The CIA and their cover organizations got to work. They used U.S. taxpayer funds to target groups who were positive about Bolsonaro and populism, and shut down social media outlets like Twitter and Instagram from spreading their dreaded disinformation. As the people realized that their communication channels were being throttled and moved to other apps like WhatsApp and Telegram, the U.S. foreign policy monster demanded that operations in Brazil of those tools had to comply with their demands, or else they would be put out of business and likely face much more nefarious consequences for their disobedience. They did it all through the proxy of the Brazilian government, but make no mistake, who was behind it. What is happening in Brazil is tragic. X is holding a line and will likely be eliminated in that country as a platform to speak, which is, if we were honest with ourselves, antithetical to what the role of government is. If we are willing to look at the dark side of all of this, we should realize that the U.S. is doing this kind of meddling all over the world. They have a strange megalomania that asserts themselves at the center of every story. The U.S. is far more like Emperor Palpatine than they are any version of Skywalker you choose. There's an insistence that their vision is the only one worth supporting. The heads of these unelected malignancies have no care who the governed select to lead them. There's no sheet of rules or regulations that they are willing to comply with, especially if their vision of the world is threatened. They have placed us in a strange prison that has no bars, no visible use of force, but one that holds the citizens captive through dishonesty and non-disclosure. They are a strange, self-appointed nobility that see a perverted righteousness in managing us as serfs and children into compliance with their vision of the world. We can protest, shout, and demand in rationality that they follow the rules and the Constitution, but no amount of screaming or waving of rationalist documents will hold sway on an irrational, self-aggrandized bureaucracy. These people are not interested in the future of the world where the people run it. We are the nuisances to them that are causing all of their experiences to be worse. We are the virus that must be eliminated from our perpetual pain upon their vision. It is why it has become so critical to stop playing in the sandbox of culture wars and pettiness that they allow us to remain distracted in. We need to start talking about the existential threats that they create and disallow the distraction factory of old political talking points to guide our decisions. The meddling tools they have access at now through technology are the dystopian contrivances that will stop the free world from its ability to be free. So perhaps this is my plea, disheartened by Brazil and her US-backed coerced treatment of X, that I ask all of us to discuss the things that matter. Stop niggling over the false choices that they are giving through their controlled media and feeders, and start demanding that they, and those who supposedly still have the power to enact change upon them, stop their ostentatious swell-headedness and return the voice back to the people.